Hello, it's Scott with Zenvi AI, and thank you for joining Systems Are Sexy podcast. Today, I'm excited to sit down with Ken Burrows. He's the founder and CEO of KINLUX. It's a company that's reinventing group vacation rentals by transforming commercial properties into unique themed experiences for large groups. So we're going to kind of talk about Ken's background. He started in Lake Tahoe, where him and his wife turned their home into a vacation rental, and then is turned into a business model. So now KINLUX is scaling into commercial properties, looking beyond the U.S., and also pioneering tokenized real estate investments. So, Ken, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so maybe we just start there. Could you tell us about the origins of it? Like you had mentioned when we spoke earlier about renting your Tahoe home, and that was kind of the inspiration for what's led to this business.
Yeah, back in 2013, we decided to take a 6-month trip around the nation with our fifth wheel, and just before my kid got into school. So we did that and started short-term renting our 5-bedroom home there in Lake Tahoe. And upon our return, we kind of started making pretty good money at it, and kind of looked at my wife and said, "Well, honey, I think we lost our house." So we rented another house for about 6 months until we bought another place, remodeled that, turned that into a vacation rental. And then my good realtor friend found another full gutted 6-bedroom home, kind of near our first place. So we spent 10 months to remodel that whole thing, turned that into a vacation rental. Then bought another one down towards in the Markleyville area. Um, we're turning that into a large entertainment area with a nice big grotto with a pool, tennis court, basketball court, sand volleyball. So we're definitely expanding into the markets. And then all of a sudden, all these jurisdictions and municipalities started coming in and trying to outlaw vacation rentals in the residential areas, or making permits and everything so difficult that we couldn't make any money at it because our homes clearly slept 20 plus people. They drop us down to 10. So if someone searched for 11 people, they wouldn't find our house. We tried to play the system with the Fair Housing Act because I'm in the mortgage business as well. You can't discriminate for 18 and under. So I put all over marketing 10 adults, and then children don't count per the Fair Housing Act. Local jurisdiction didn't like that, so they yanked our permits from us. So even though I asked them, I said, "Well, what if they come in with a 3-month-old baby?" They're like, "Well, that's 11 people. That's over the limit." Okay, so that's when we started trying to sell the properties off. We have sold a couple off, waiting on a couple others. And now we're merging into the commercial market to start buying the commercial properties, turn those into a motel system. Then those local VHR boards can't harm us or take our permits or regulate us or anything like that. So that's where we're at the current moment.
Yeah, could you expand on that a little bit? Maybe tell listeners why you went to motels, or I guess you know the why, but like, how did you go about doing that process?
Well, basically, we're being classified as a motel, but we're really no different than that 5 to 7 bedroom, residential home. But now it's on the commercial property, zoned commercially. A lot of the ones that we're looking at are actual office buildings that they've been sitting there for years on end since COVID because nobody's working out of their offices anymore. It's all everybody's working out of their home. So a lot of these properties we're defining are very easy to convert to a 5 to 7 bedroom kind of a home aspect, but also there's more space sometimes for us to do more things like a miniature golf or a lot more games available like pool tables, shuffleboards. There's more room for that entertainment aspect of it. So it's still that group rental system, but more classified as a motel, which also gives us the ability to market on hotels.com and other platforms, not just Airbnb and VRBO. We can market on all the platforms now because we're considered a motel. So that helps with bookings.
Got it. So when we spoke originally, obviously you're in the U.S. You mentioned about Costa Rica, Puerto Vallarta, and some other countries. What does that process look like? Obviously you're based in the U.S., but how do you scale the business from there and finding properties to remodel?
Yeah, we've got connections in Puerto Vallarta. A good friend of mine from Lake Tahoe actually moved his family down there about 20 years ago. So we're good friends with them. I've been down there probably 20 times. So he's been slowly defining properties for us. We got another friend in Costa Rica. Got another good friend in India. My partner on our whiskey business actually goes over to Europe a lot. So he's got some connections there. We're looking in Germany and some other, near the Alps and things like that. So those are more a little down the road. We're kind of trying to focus on the US for the next few years, build up more of a good solid base. And then as funds and investors start coming in, then we'll start expanding out, worldwide.
Sure. Yeah, could you walk us through the investor side of it? I know because we've talked a little bit about accredited but not accredited investors and how they participate. If someone's interested, what does that process look like for them?
Yeah, we decided to definitely do this the correct way. We are merging tokenization with real world assets. So we're a front runner in that space. Not a lot of companies are doing that, but we're also doing it correctly. We're not that meme coin out there getting in trouble with the SEC. We actually filed a Reg CF and a Reg D with the SEC, and we're following all their protocols, their new regulations starting to form, through the Genius Act. And this administration is very token friendly. So that's where we're heading in that direction. But because we're following the rules, a lot of the big whales in crypto aren't floating over to us because we're not that meme coin. We're not the fly by night. We're more of a stable coin. We're building a structure, a business around the actual tokenization for a much more solid investment. But it's not where like a Doji coin where it's going to fly up to 70 cents and then back down to 14. Our business model is going to be very stable. That's why we're called a stable coin. Like I said, we're following the rules. So
So let's say someone's new to it, and I know you kind of touched on it, but let's say someone's interested, but they don't really understand that. How do you balance the education versus kind of the skepticism when you talk to new investors?
okay. Oh, well, back to your other question as well. Will also relate to this. For the non-accredited investors, we're seeing they don't understand quite a bit on what we're doing here with the tokenization to the real world assets. Some do, but a lot of them aren't. That's we're doing a minimum of $350 to 49.99. That's a non-accredited investor. So we're having. I'm doing a lot of one-on-one meetings. I got meetings daily, meeting with investors, and then for the accredited investors, a lot of them do understand because they've been in the investment world for a lot. So that's 50,000 or above minimum investment. So we still get on one with them, but they do understand a little bit more on the investment side. But what's nice that we're doing at both levels is we're also giving the opportunity to non-accredited investors. Not a lot of companies doing that. They only do the Reg D accredited. Want to stick to just those people. We want to, we're trying to make this open up to where, invest 1,000 or 2,000. Start dabbling in it. That'll get you into the market, whether it's through stocks, Nasdaq's, other crypto. It kind of gives you a nice piece of your portfolio that this is going to be a little more stable. So yeah, it definitely has been some more education, because we are a front runner. I tend to do that in business. So I always kind of push out at the front, and then it takes a good 2 or 3 years for me to, get the traction running harder. And then, now is ground level where we're at. In 3 to 4 years, we're going to be a lot, you know, larger of a company, and the shares are going to be higher. So, that's just where we're heading to. But we are in the process of doing a lot of different educational videos on YouTube. So, people can kind of watch at their leisure if they don't feel like meeting with me on one on one.
Yeah, what are maybe the top 2 or 3 questions you get from investors?
Well, I mean, I don't get a whole lot of questions, to be honest with you. I'm getting more apprehension at the moment. The biggest thing being we're not big enough. They want to see us with, 20 to 30 properties already moving. Well, right now we've only got a handful and a few defined. So we've already proven our concept. It's just a matter of, I guess, the only reason me and my wife decided to bring in investors is so we could actually turn KINLUX into a worldwide household name. We could easily keep doing what we're doing, buy a property maybe once a year, just between us. I mean, our properties that we're buying are anywhere from 1 million to 1.5 million. So we are liquid. We do have a plan, but to do this in a large scale, we have to have investors. So that's one of my biggest hurdles is that. Of course, questioning on the tokenization. People need to do a little more research on the stable coins, knowing that we're not like even though XRP is a big company, they're probably going to go large here soon, but they've had a lot of problems with the SEC coming after them. So we're doing everything we can to, not have that problem. Another question too is how long, or issue, I guess sometimes, is how long is my money tied up for? Well, in our system, it will be tied up for 2 or 3 years until we are on a tradable platform. And then you'll be able to trade your shares freely. And then we do have plans with probably more around the 7-year mark to go full IPO with the NASDAQ and go full public. And then you'll definitely be able to trade your shares then. Our prediction at the point will be probably around $30 per share. So right now they're $1. So that's why we're ground level.
Yeah, so is that what you say to people? Go, hey, come back to me when you got 20 properties. You say, hey, if you wait that long, it changes the dynamic at that point as far as your investment.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But a lot of these investors we're talking to, these guys invest 100 million into companies. These guys aren't the ones that paying you 2,000. That's why we're starting off small with the Reg CF, and we'll slowly grow into filing a Reg A, hopefully in the next 2 years, which is our plan. That'll make us a mini IPO. And at that point, when we have 20 something properties, that's when these bigger guys want to come in and start putting 100 million into it because they like our concept. They just want to see us larger, bringing in, 20, 30 million a month in income.
Is that, you think, the biggest hurdle right now is just overcoming that skepticism because you are first to market? But once you kind of feel like you start to get some traction, then maybe those would be a much easier conversations for you?
Yeah, I definitely think that. I mean, I've got probably a list of 70, 80 people sitting there. They want to wait till we're moving a little bit more. But like I said, the shares might be worth $3 to $5 when they want to jump in. That's the bonus of jumping in early.
So on the operational side, I'm curious, obviously finding properties, remodeling, managing bookings. What's time consuming today and what are you trying to automate?
I mean, at this point, the only automation would be the marketing. A lot of AI stuff I've been diving into, learning a lot about that. The investment side, we've already got a good team, to define properties. I look at them. I like to try to visit them for the most part. I mean, that might be difficult as we grow and we start doing hundreds of properties here and there. But right now, I like to visit the property, get a whole layout. So there's not a whole lot of automation at the moment, and it still may be even difficult more in the future. I think we're all going to need a hands-on approach for each property because each property is going to be unique. So yeah, I don't see that ever being an automation thing. At least me or someone on my team is going to have to be watching over every project at some point or hiring more people to handle that.
So you mentioned unique properties. Can you give us an idea, maybe existing or what you envision the future, what the properties are going to look like, what makes them unique?
Yeah, we've got a couple of properties now we're defining. One is a ranch here in the Lake Tahoe area. We're looking at splitting that into two properties, one being a Hobbit village type of concept, and that would be labeled as a campground in a sense. So still commercial and it'd be still a group rental. Another one we want to do is like a treehouse village where it's almost like you're like Ewoks, Star Wars theme. So, and another one we've got defined down in the Stockton, California area with 130 acres. A friend of mine actually owns it, and we've discussed this of building a castle um, right on the water there in the Delta area, but making it a full entertainment center. So we'd have bands, miniature golf, a floating river moat around the castle itself, and different activities, but also make it a full event center where, like I said, large bands. They do a lot of festivals down in that area, asparagus festivals. They go crazy with the wines and festivals down there. Um, those are some of the projects we're looking at. We're also trying to have fun with it because we realize, a lot of these crypto people do like that, I guess, fantasy world with Marvel and, Harry Potters and things like that. And I'm also into that as well. Trying to make it fun, and each investor will also have a voting share, to it. Well, they'll be interactive. It's not going to be all right, invest your money, and you're not going to have any say so in what we do. We're going to be sending out surveys, voting systems, and all right, here's a property we're looking at. Here's some layouts of what we want to do with this property. Here's maybe 3 to 5 layouts. Which ones do you guys like? Or come up with some examples. If we pick your theme or whatnot, then we'll get some extra shares of the business or whatever we're going to do at that time. But definitely want to be interactive, more like a club system, and discounts for our properties as well if you're an investor. So more, like I said, more creating like a club atmosphere.
Yeah, so a club atmosphere, does that mean people have access to different properties as a part of like KINLUX itself that they'll know about, hey, I want to stay with KINLUX, these are the 5 properties they have available, these are the 10 properties to kind of like a hotel rewards almost at a point?
Yeah, well, definitely they'll have discounts if you're an investor, for the properties that we do run and manage and own. So
What do you see in the next few years? Do you feel like there's any roadblocks ahead of you? Because I know you've crossed a few of those already, but do you feel like there's anything coming up as you try to expand, aggressively expand, that these are going to be some roadblocks, or do you feel pretty confident where you guys are going?
I feel pretty confident, which is the way we're heading. I mean, the only other roadblock would be them outlawing motels, and I don't see that ever happening. So, I mean, that's the only roadblock I see, other than maybe some more crypto regulations and things. But we're following the rules. We're basing it more on a company structure based on shares of the business equals a token. So I don't see a whole lot of hurdles going forward.
So if people want to find out about your properties or being investors, what's the best way to go doing that?
I'd be kinlux.club is our main website. We do have others for investment side, but you'll be able to access all our other websites for the non-accredited, accredited, and even our marketing website, all from kinlux.club. And as we expand properties, the properties will be listed on kinlux.club as well.
Well, thank you, Ken. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.